Welcome. This lesson should be a very straightforward and easy lesson because we're just going to be using a calculator. You type in 77 and you hit the sign button. Or maybe, depending on your calculator, you might hit the sign button first and then type in 77 and hit equals. But there is one catch, so listen carefully. Your calculator might be in the wrong mode. Let's look for an example down here. I just want to talk about an example of what I mean by this. If I gave you two lengths that were 3 inches in length and 2 inches in length, and I asked you to add those two lengths together, you would get 5 inches. But wonder if your calculator or your ruler or whatever you were measuring was in centimeters. Well, if you measured them, they would come out to be different than 3 and 2 inches, 3 inches and 2 inches, and you'd get a total of 12.7 centimeters if it was asked in centimeters. So centimeters and inches, they measure the same thing, length, but they're actually different values. Same thing here. In your calculators and definitely your computer, if you type this into a computer, almost always it's set to be in radians. The sine of 77 radians is not the same as the sine of 77 degrees. So if you take the sine of 77 radians, you'd get 0.9995. If your calculator is set in degree mode and you take the sine of 77 degrees, you get 0.9743. Now, I know that one doesn't seem like a big difference, but it is a difference, and you would get marked wrong because you would type in 0.1 or 1, because if you round it to the nearest hundredth, that'd be 1. But in degrees, it's actually 0.97. Now, again, that difference can be a lot bigger. In fact, you can get negatives and positives. So let's do the sine of 20 and see what the difference is. So I've changed this now to take the sine of 20 radians and the sine of 20 degrees, and let's see how different those values are. And so when I took the sine of 20 radians, I got 0.9129, but the sine of 20 degrees, which that's what this little circle here means, by the way, is 0.3420. So I recommend take your calculator, take your computer or whatever, your phone, turn it sideways, and type in the sine of 20 and see if you get 0.9129. If you do, you're in the wrong mode. You're in radians. And there will be a mode function that will be able to change it to degrees. Make sure that when you take the sine of 20 degrees, you get 0.3420, and then you're ready to continue with this assignment. And again, cosine, same thing. If you take the cosine of 87 radians, that's going to be different than cosine of 87 degrees, and it all depends on the mode you put your calculator in. If you have questions on your calculator mode, please ask me during class or look it up, Google my whatever calculator you use and how to make sure I'm in degree mode versus radian mode. But again, other than that, it's a very simple process. You take the cosine of 87, couple button pushes.